Mass Effect 2. Well, this is certainly a Bioware RPG. And if you really, really like the Bioware games, you're going to absolutely love this game. You'll probably declare it Game of the Year 2010, even though it clearly won't be. Oh, come on, it isn't that good. Really, Bioware games haven't changed a great deal since Knights of the Old Republic. This is a good thing, you may say to yourself, but there are just better games now. The proverbial bar has been raised. Enter Fallout 3. Even if you're not a huge sci-fi fan and really hate post-apocalyptic aesthetics, please just admit to yourself now that in the Fallout 3 engine and the hands of Bethesda you'd get a superior game. You'll feel better, honestly. That certainly doesn't mean, however, that Mass Effect 2 is poor or something that isn't worth the purchase and effort. It is a very good game, impressive in its stability and the ability to push an Xbox. The PC port I was playing has some mostly minor problems. I should probably mention that I haven't played the first one, but that'll just help me to stay more objective and prevent the obvious comparisons to the first game. Instead, I'm going to use the obvious comparisons to Knights. Many aspects of the game suffer the same problem. It's very good, but falls short of being the best you've seen. The story is very well told and thought out, but the world is a bit less colourful than the Knights' Star Wars base universe. The characters are very interesting and flesh out quite nicely, but aren't as compelling as the Knights' races, and the galactic politics of the Mass Effect universe just don't quite reach the same levels of vibrancy that the Knights' politics do. The graphics are sharp and the models are really lovely, but just not as interesting as Fallout, despite being better drawn. I wanted to compliment the game on its variety of terrain, but really, it just blends together eventually, and the standard template isn't interesting enough to get away with that. For some reason, after creating some frankly exceptionally good-looking models, and interesting depth of field enhanced backgrounds, they decided that the only way it could look better was to put a giant contrasty overbloomed filter on it, so that you can no longer see the amazing level of detail in the characters. Well, amazing at least from the neck up. The difference betwixt heads and bodies is actually quite pronounced. To be fair though, the game does have an original storyline, and the Star Wars universe is very mature and has been worked with for such a long time to iron out problems and move away from plots that don't work so well. Those same plots they used for films 1 through 3. So, for an original story it is good, although it's a little derivative of the genre generally. Not always a bad thing, and anyway, the game does character development better than the overall story, and the story, whilst derivative, is still very good, if a bit slow to reveal, but worth it, since the finale is exquisite and sufficiently epic. The Force powers, yeah, they are just Force powers really, aren't they? They're less impressive than Knights, and in the game feel rather underpowered and sometimes a little useless. For example, whilst the Adept class can hold his own, you're really better off just being the fighter guy, buffing your ammunition, and assault rifling everything to death. It's just quicker and more effective. The engineer's drone is mostly pointless, and you end up using it so that they shoot at the drone instead of you, whilst you blow away at them with the guns, rather than just having more health and using an assault rifle. At no point do you do anything nearing the awesomeness of throwing a glowing sword at someone. It's very difficult to add some objective criticism to such an overhyped game like this and not make it sound like tired rubbish, so this is another disclaimer that this is actually a very good game, one you should buy. Discounted if you're not so into the Bioware formula. It's a mostly enjoyable experience with a few minor detractions being more than worth it. Like mining for stuff. Whomever thought it would be a good idea to, in a single-player RPG, have the player have to scan manually by moving the cursor over a planet's surface over and over for every planet desperately needs to be shot. It is the most mind-numbing, dull minigame I have seen in a while and adds absolutely nothing to the game. On the other hand, the title's humour and ability to playfully approach in-game relationships are a joy, and something I'd like to see more of in every game. It does make you feel like you're really interacting with the characters and getting to know them, and it's something that is equal to the Knights games for a change. Unfortunately, when playing the games it seems to want you to, either as fully Paragon, or let's be honest good, or fully Renegade, surprisingly, in a pleasant way, not evil, authoritarian and dickish, but not cartoonishly evil. You get to see the extreme sides of your relationship, but really, we're not fully one or the other. If you play as you would in life, you'll likely be, like me, mostly Paragon and a little Renegade. The problem being is that you don't get the full gamut of conversation either way, and even less when you're closer to neutral. The good moral choices are mostly what we'd accept to be moral, although occasionally it would surprise me. It is also, in my opinion, the only real reason to revisit the game after completion. I haven't felt much compulsion to go back to the game on the same moral side, except perhaps to rectify a few mistakes I'd made. Its play length isn't bad though, so you do get your money's worth. There is undoubtedly DLC coming, so that should help too. Come to think of it, even if you don't like RPGs, get it anyway. I'm sick of shooters and want to see more RPGs.
Of course, Mocklin. Whatever she wants.